Welcome back. We've been listening to the presidential and vice presidential candidates of the All Progressives Congress. But just before we go into our discussion, we brought you some news earlier in the day about the oil workers suspending their strike after an agreement with the federal government that lasted, following discussions that lasted almost 12 hours. They've suspended the strike finally, and they've signed a joint communique with the federal government, led by the Minister of Labour. Let's hope that this will be like the last in a long time, hopefully, of this agreement between the federal government and oil workers. But back to the studio here, we have a professor of international law at the University of Lagos, Professor Akin Oyebode. We'll hear talk about the state of the nation. We'll start off with looking at the issues of politics. Professor Oyebode, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
What's the trend of things in the last few weeks? I mean, the APC, PDP had their primaries, and 6 days later, the APC announced their vice presidential candidate. Can you give us your honest assessment, although someone said you had a little bit of a bias, but I don't, an honest assessment of what you think?
Well, I think we know what the PDP has put on the table in the last 15 years or so. So for the PDP, I think it's more of the same. The joker is the APC. We used to say that the difference between the APC and the PDP was that between 6 and half a dozen. I said twiddle-dee and twiddle-dum. But since Nigerians now opt for personalities rather than the parties, the choice of General Buhari, complemented by Yemi Osinbajo, seems to me a ticket to give considerable attention. Because what many people don't know is that Yemi Osinbajo is a long-standing activist against corruption. I remember that he set up the Integrity NGO with Soji Akwankpa in terms of good corporate governance. And they have Christopher Kolade as their patron and what have you. So, and General Buhari's track record in terms of anti-corruption, I think, is well known. Yeah. So I think they complement one another. And because of that, we might really be faced with a decisive choice between what we have seen hitherto and what is on offer, what is promised for Nigeria for a turnaround. So I think we're in, as the Chinese would say, for interesting times. So I'm very optimistic that there'll be a dire choice in terms of the platform, in terms of the ticket.
What about the processes that led to the emergence of Professor Osinbajo?
Well, it's neither here nor there. We're in the era of politics and politicking. What we've read hitherto was that Osinbajo was a nominee of Bola Tinubu. He was a protege. But we know the track record of Yemi Osinbajo as Attorney General of Lagos State. The novelty that he brought into governance in the realm of justice, the Office of Public Defender, the revolving door mechanism, and the panache that he brought into the judiciary. There was no Attorney General that could be compared with Yemi Osinbajo during his tenure. And I remember that Governor Bola Tinubu, as he then was, admitted to us, law teachers, that he was very proud to have a Yemi Osinbajo coming from Unilag to help him show up his performance. And you know, of course, that give it to Bola Tinubu, he performed. And part of the measure of success for any political leader is to identify and groom your successor. And he did that by getting Fashola. He used to say that he was a visualizer, and Fashola was the actualizer. So quite sincerely, I don't think we should bother so much about the process that threw up Yemi Osinbajo. There are very good candidates that could have gone in. Fashola, for instance, is an achiever, almost a miracle worker. But Nigeria is still afraid of itself in terms of whether we face Jerusalem or we face Mecca. I would have wanted a straight Buhari Fashola ticket. But since it won't fly now, even General Obasanjo warned APC not to dare. So I think we'll give it a chance. Sometimes in politics, you fail to get what you like, you end up liking what you get.
How do we, I want to deal with that fear. How realistic is that fear? Is it something that politicians have instilled in us, you know, by talking about it over and over again? Or is it something that has truly become a part of us? We're reading the papers this morning, and we saw something about Enugu bishops, Anglican bishops, saying they don't want a Catholic ticket. And you're wondering, to what extent or what realm are we going to take this religion of a matter to in politics?
Makwe, I think you got your finger on it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Really, the two religions that we tout are foreign religions, if you ask me. Christianity and Islam. They don't originate from here. The traditional religion, the religion of our forefathers, was not Christianity and was not Islam. But it seems we have been captured by these foreign religions. And when you say something so many times, every so often, it develops its own momentum. I know, for instance, in Lagos State, there was a body of opinion that said we've had too many Muslim governors, and the time is ripe to have a Christian. And that is why PDP and APC now are floating Christian governorship candidates. Really, it's skin deep, if you ask me, because it is not religion that will put food on the table. It's capacity and ability of the government, okay, to deliver. If you ask me, for instance, I don't give a damn, to borrow the expression of Goodluck Jonathan, whether my governor is Christian or Muslim, so long as he can provide education for my kids, employment, housing, good health, and what have you. They might even come from the same part of the state or the same part of the country. It's performance that we should actually use to judge. That's why, for me, I will have opted for Fashola, who is a performer.
So is it an opportunity, is it a missed opportunity for the APC then?
Well, I think they erred on the side of caution. You know, if they run a Muslim ticket and they lose, people will say, we told you so. Especially General Obasanjo will say, I warned you. People have said we are not in 1993. In 1993, we are all sick and tired of the military. And we didn't really worry whether you had King Gibe and Abiola. Okay? But in 2014, there is a lot of sentiment, especially derived from the security situation in the country. Look at what happened in Peshawar 3 days ago. The Pakistani commentators were invoking Boko Haram in Nigeria as an example. So Boko Haram, but even some people say it's un-Islamic and what have you, it's a tendency which has tended to give Islam a bad name. So if you now have two Muslims fighting over the heart and soul of Nigerians, people might say the choice is not wise, at least for today. Maybe in another 10, 20 years, it will not really matter who is on the ticket. But today, 2014 in Nigeria, we have to take cognizance of the political reality on the ground. I think that is what the APC thought of.
Prof, you say in another 10, 20 years, we might be able to leave this behind. The question will be, how would we get to that point if we keep hammering on this issue of it has to be Muslim or Muslim Christian, in fact it has to be Catholic Anglican or Catholic Pentecostal? How would we get past it if we keep harping on it?
No, it's not a question of keeping harping on it. It's a red herring. I think we all agree that the religious factor is a red herring. Good governance should be the test, and the acid test, in fact, of any arrangement that we have. Nigerians are yearning for a change. They are sick and tired of what they've seen the last 15 years. But if you want to bring about that change, you must be circumspect in order not to throw away the baby with the bathwater. We are thinking of a situation where and when Nigeria would not worry, should not bother so much about the religious predilections of their governors, okay? But at the present point in time, because of contemporary history, it seems we are left with little choice in the matter. The two contenders, that is APC and PDP, are giving us a mix of Christian, Muslim, Muslim, Christian. You might say that, well, if we have a straight fight next February and the better ticket wins, then Nigeria will begin the move towards transcending the fixation with religious peccadillos. Quite sincere. I am praying, wishing, and hoping that Nigeria will rise beyond that. Things can't be static. People need food, they need employment, they need housing, they need education, they need good health. What has religion got to do with that? Quite sincerely.
You know, you say that, just picking up from there, that yes, religion is not a part of it. And we can only hope along with you that this is not something that becomes cultural, you know, something that is, they begin to look at and say, it's tradition. You cannot feel two people from the same religion. This is how we have been doing it. You know, that would definitely not be good. But looking more critically at what it is that we're doing, you know, in 2015, the elections. You say that Nigerians are tired of what they've seen in the last 15 years. Some would say what they've seen in the last, since they were born. I mean, since I was born, I have been told that my country is going to get better. There is a great future awaiting all of us somewhere. And we have been hoping, and that's all we can do. How do you think that the matrix, politicians will promise heaven and earth? Do you think that the arrangements that we have currently as a country is what inhibits us? Or do you think that this is all about leadership?
Well, leadership has a lot to do with it. Like people say, fish starts getting rotten from the head. If you have a good leader in place, then he will surround himself with men and women who will translate his wishes into reality. Okay? A leader is as good as the people around him, because nobody can do it alone. So if you look at a ticket, and the ticket is promising in terms of delivering good governance, then we have the possibility, we have the hopes and aspiration that we can transcend our limitations. But if you have a situation where it's just more of the same, then we just keep going around in circles. Like students say, Baba's chair, potter's wheel. All movement, all motion, no movement. Mm. So, and that for me is decisive. People should vote either to keep the status quo, which we have seen hitherto, or they want to move Nigeria forward, as we say here. And if we are not okay with what we have seen in the last, you said since you were born, then the time for change is now, in my own perception.